So the numbers speak to the percentage of veterans that seem to occupy this space of extremism, and the arrest count at January 6th, for example, got all of
Mhm.
our attention between the military and law enforcement. Are you seeing that in extremist groups? What's going on in the mind of a veteran that makes them drawn to extremism?
So the wrong conclusion came about into kind of the public consciousness about
Mhm,
veterans in the relation to extremism.
mm,
People thought that because so many veterans were arrested and involved in the core of the conspiracy, it wasn't just Stuart Rhodes, of the Oath Keepers. It was also Joe Biggs and a handful of other Proud
yeah,
Boys. It was General Flynn, this disgraced former general who's been using his rank as if it's his first name. Um, People made the assumption that because there were so many arrested, that must mean veterans are more likely to be radicalized. Research shows that veterans are actually less likely to adopt extremist beliefs and narratives than the average person. Now, when it comes to conspiracy theories like the Great Replacement conspiracy theory, that is, that Jewish people are importing people of color into the United States to replace white voters. That is the Great Replacement conspiracy theory that fuels white nationalism, right?
mhm,
Americans believe that at about like a 30% rate. So fewer veterans believing that at like 27% is like not that significant, but it's
right,
still a little less. So I think people ought to be more concerned about the general
yeah,
likelihood of Americans to accept that. But the reason that extremist groups specifically target veterans is not for the things that you might assume, like the weapons training, the small units tactics. It's for the same reason that JP Morgan Chase and Bank of America target us. Like, I went to Columbia University, all of the big consulting firms targeted veterans because in American culture, we carry a level of credibility and influence that other Americans just simply don't. Doesn't matter
true.
how you break us down in demographics, veterans are more likely to change the minds of people around them. It's why I have a microphone in front of my face, right?
Mm,
It's the 4 years I did in the military service. It's the reason for the rest of my career.
yeah, it's
So
true. There's credibility there.
yeah.
Are they so? It's helpful to hear you kind of correct the record on the association of veterans that we all have in our minds of, hey, it seems to me they're disproportionately represented. Maybe not.
Mhm.
Yet there seems to be a mission oriented hole in many veterans, right? That you leave the service, you found your affinity group,
Mhm.
you need to find another one or a cause. Is that part of the recruitment? And tell us if indeed these extremist groups are recruiting from the veteran population.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why they recruited my friend who brought me into Patriot Front was specifically because he was an Army veteran, and even more specifically, he was a sniper and he was a combatives instructor. So he was teaching them how to
Sure,
fight. Now,
sure.
in order for him to maintain his sanity, teaching them how to fight meant them losing, and he fought them, which, it gets him by at least so far.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if the Nazis he was training remember anything from that period of their lives. I just wish I got to see it.
Yeah.
So veterans are again targeted because they come with this credibility, and extremists understand that. They notice that if they have a veteran spokesperson, as Stuart Rhodes was for the Oath Keepers, they're more likely to recruit folks. And it's not just the public influence, it's the um, it's the influence on families. If you can change the values or voting behavior or morals of a veteran, you're more likely to take their family unit with them. Now, part of what I think makes Americans, broadly speaking, and veterans especially, vulnerable to these kind of recruitment tactics is that we're missing third spaces. And my grandfather's generation who fought Nazis, they came home to intact veteran service organizations that had, the VFW post, the American Legion post in their hometowns. When I grew up, bowling was a thing that we did every Friday or Saturday with a bunch of friends. And it was, us, the little kids, and all of the adults and the grandparents' generation, all in the same building, right?
Yeah.
Socializing. That just simply doesn't exist in American culture anymore.
Mhm.
So whether it's a veteran who no longer has the VFW post, doesn't feel like they belong there if there is one that even exists, or it's the young man who, because of COVID, spent a few years pretty isolated and playing video games and getting radicalized by neo-Nazis going on trying to recruit them.
Right.
Um, when a group of men comes along and says, "Here, I can teach you how to be a man, just dress like us and come out with us on the weekends."
Mhm.
These lonely people, veteran or otherwise, are looking for community, and the Nazis are giving them community.
Yeah, to their credit, they stepped up and offered something that our society is not doing very well at.